Hey, Bulls and Bears, it is Saturday, October 21st, 2023. Back with another dose of economic reality as usual. You're not going to believe what Fed Chairman Jerome Powell came out and said, or maybe you will believe it. Take a look at this. To me, this is pretty insane to even suggest this. Horrifying attack, talking about what happened in Israel. This is the part I'm talking about here, this next part. Derailing global recovery. Recovery? What recovery? Does anyone here think that we're in some sort of economic recovery? Well, let's take a look at some information that might answer that question for us here. Here's an example of a recovery. U.S. wraps up fiscal year with a budget deficit near $1.7 trillion, folks. That's up 23%. But they're telling us we're in a recovery. This has been ongoing since 2020. There's a recovery. There's a recovery. Meantime, people are getting buried under record amounts of debt. We've got corporate layoffs on pace to set a all-time record. We still have to see if it's going to surpass the 2007, 2008, 2009 financial crisis. But we're on pace to at least come pretty close or eclipse what we saw in the financial crisis. The banks this year that have failed back in March, and I believe we had a couple in April too, the amount of the losses there with those banks have already surpassed all the losses from the bank failures in 2008. In 2008, everybody agrees that's a financial crisis. That's the name people have agreed to give that particular era in the economy, a financial crisis. So now all these things are much worse than they were back then. Just look at the national debt too. Look at all the corporate debt. Look at the everywhere you look. I mean, the debt is just enormously higher than what it was back then. But yet they're not calling this a financial crisis. Where we're at right now, this is a recovery, according to Jerome Powell. Look at this budget deficit of 23% in a year. Folks, this is almost laughable. I mean, let me know what you think about this. How can he say that we're in any sort of recovery? And the cost of living, my goodness. Look at this. This is the way Market Watch put it out. Inflation is following an eerily similar path as the one taken in 1966 to 1982. Folks, inflation isn't coming down. The rate of inflation slowing, but the costs are still going up. Folks, take a look at this if you want to see a hint of what's happening with the typical U.S. consumer right now. Out of NBC, credit card users paid nearly $164 billion in fees and interest in 2022, and make it a little worse, just a little worse. Folks, does anyone think that it's not going to get a lot worse here? $164 billion. Now, let me go ahead and put on my super economy vision blue blocker glasses here and tell you what I see. I see things getting a lot worse, not just a little worse. Folks, we've got inflation that's not coming down. We've got the Fed afraid to raise rates because they know it's going to happen. And this is just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. Back to what Jerome Powell said, he tried to pretend that this has been an economic recovery. No one that I talk to thinks we're in a recovery. Very small fraction of the people that I talk with are actually doing better. Most people are getting worse, getting more stressed out about the economy, the cost of living. And also, maybe you can explain this to me. How can people still pretend to believe that this recovery is happening? What recovery? When you have statistics out there like this, $164 billion in fees and interest just in the calendar year 2022. Just wait until the 2023 numbers come out, and it's going to be a lot worse than that. It's going to be probably over $200 billion. I'm talking billion with a B here. Folks, how can anyone climb out of this a hole where debt is at all-time highs, rates are high and likely going higher? I don't see a good ending to this at all, but maybe I'm wrong. Again, let me know what you think down in the comments here. Also, we have banks basically hiding their unrealized losses in their portfolios, right? We're talking about loans that were given out at ultra low interest rates, and now they can't find a buyer for these loans. What they are talking about, though, what they are putting out there is how much the banks are earning in profits. But folks, the profits are just a fraction of the losses that we're seeing at all the banks, And even before this, even before rates increased and we saw this bond market rout occur, even before this, banks were loaning out money that they don't have, right? So this whole house of cards is starting to come crumbling down. And if it happens this time like it did in previous economic downturns, it's going to happen very, very quickly, right? So it's a slow motion collapse. You notice the signs, and sometimes you have to dig through the news to really see what's happening, what we try to do here on this channel. And then all of a sudden, there's a moment where something huge breaks. Now, for now, they've been doing pretty good at containing the damage. Look at the bank failures back at the beginning of this year. We had these stealth bailouts where banks would just buy out another bank instead of allowing the bank to completely fail. They would just do takeovers. But we also did have the central bank come in and inject a bunch of money into some of these banks. We also had the Fed team up with FDIC to cover the depositors that normally would have lost their money because FDIC did not have enough money to cover all this. Does anyone remember this back in March? This wasn't that long ago, it was 6 months ago. But everyone is kind of sweeping this under the rug. Jerome Powell says we're in a recovery, but now because of the conflict that's happening, that might derail the recovery, right? So everything was going fine up until this latest war broke out. And guess what? This war is going to, I think, expand. And I think the United States is going to become even more involved than we already are. Now, I'm not a geopolitical channel, I'm a deep researcher on that, but just sticking to the economics part of it here, folks, this is not good at all. We've got more supply chain disruptions on the way. I really don't think that we've seen anything just yet. And you want to talk about job losses about to get a lot worse. Look what Amazon is doing. Amazon distribution centers are rolling out 2 new robotic solutions, including ones that look and act like human beings. It is now more than 750,000 robots working with its employees, folks. Pretty soon, the entire workforce of Amazon could be wiped out. I mean, can they get robots to do everything? I doubt it, because you need people to fix the robots, program the robots. All right, but back to the Amazon thing for just a minute. Look how they're trying to portray this here. This news article here is out of BBC. Amazon trials humanoid robots to free up staff. What do they mean by free up staff? It's more like lay off staff. They make it sound like a good thing. Well, it's a good thing for the company because these robots aren't going to be calling in sick. They're not going to file harassment claims against the company, and they don't need health benefits and all those things. But to free up staff, I mean, that's, to me, that's a pretty a pretty deceptive way to put it there. They're going to free up staff all the way to the unemployment line, is what it looks like to me. All right, folks, next, let's talk about this. One of these Fed people out here, Bostic, he says he doesn't foresee rate cuts coming until late 2024. Late 2024. Why would we be talking about cutting rates even in late 2024? That's only about a year away. This is not a good sign. So what does he see on the horizon? Why would we need to cut rates? We already have bubbles that are really not bursting when you look at real estate, when you look at car prices, the cost of living is not coming down. Why would we even be thinking about or talking about cutting rates, folks? I think because he knows, and I think he's hinting that something big is going to happen, and it's going to justify the need for emergency rate cuts. All right, folks. So hope everybody's well. It's always good to stay on top of this news, know what's happening, know where we're headed in the economy here. And that way we can stay ahead of the curve and be ready. Be ready. Have some cash. Cash is not going away anytime soon as far as the dollar anyways. Yes, there is a push globally to de-dollarize, but if you look, because of the rate increases, the dollar has been getting stronger. And pretty soon it's going to balance out where the dollars are going to become very strong. And we're finally going to see some significant price declines, namely in real estate and automobiles, unless we see something big like supply chain disruptions, another war, maybe Taiwan and China, we'll have to see. But otherwise, be ready for some pretty good buying opportunities down the road. Have some cash, but I would not go all in on cash either, because if the de-dollarization picks up pace, things could head in the other direction very, very quickly, right? So pretty interesting time, pretty scary time for a lot of people, but we're going to be on top of it for you, everybody. Thanks for watching this report. We'll talk to you very, very soon. As always, keep stacking. If you like what we talk about and like to support this channel, please hit that thumbs up button and the notification so you don't miss a video. As always, everybody, keep stacking.